All right, so some of us aren't really in pairs. And you'll see on the start slide, it says choose a partner you can work with, and this is a trial. So as we get into, like, you need a partner, I might have people move and make sure that we actually partner up. We will use cards different times to determine random partners, but for right now, I thought I would give it a trial of seeing if you guys can choose who you work with. Now, most teachers will tell you that's a terrible idea. Right? Let your kids choose who they work with. That's like the way to turn your class into disaster zone. But yeah, I trust you guys, so I'm hoping that this works out for most of us. But sometimes it's just good to work with people that we haven't necessarily worked with, so we will do random partners sometime. So today, everyone had the handout from the back table? If not, go grab it. We should be on page 6 of our math journal, but after that, it's going to be up to you what page you're on. What do we see here? Well, if you have a textbook out, anyone have a page number? No, we don't have a book out yet. Yeah, Marvin, what's up? What page? 245. 245, if you plan along in our textbooks. What do we see here? What is this thing? I got a poster about it over here. Nutrition facts, we most normally call this a food label, right? So every edible object that we sell in America, unless it's like farmer's market or things like that, has to have a food label on it. Also has to have an expiration date. Some of those things are made up, but that's conversation for later. So from this food label, you can tell a lot of things about the food that you're going to eat, one of them being a percentage. Does anyone know what that percentage is actually telling you? Daily value what? Yeah, percent daily value could be calories, or could be like what I need, right? Vitamin C, or vitamin D, or zinc, or iron, or the things that I need to put in my body, according to doctors and people that are smarter than we are, right? So we can look at this food label and see there are 12 grams of fat. That's 18% of the fat that I should be getting that day. So a lot of times kids will be like, well, these don't add up to 100. Well, they don't. These percentages don't work with each other. This is what percent of that object. So what percent of my saturated fat? What percent of my daily cholesterol intake? What percent of my carbohydrates that I'm supposed to have? Carbs are like the thing that make energy. What percent of fiber? Well, this isn't very good for fiber because it has 0%. Right? Fiber is the stuff that makes you poop. So you want that, you need that, otherwise you'll get all stopped up. Sugars, good sugars and bad sugars, so different things. Now notice they give us the grams, and then they give us the percentages. So we're going to start to compare, well, how much, like what can I have more of versus what should I have less of, right? I would probably want more vitamin C than I want just straight sugar or like saturated fat. Saturated fats are the bad fats. So you got to be careful with saturated fats. So government's created guidelines for how various nutrients, yada yada. According to our discussion, or our label above, this is cheesy macaroni, contains 15% of the saturated fat that you should eat. 15% for that day. So if this is your recommended daily intake of saturated fats, right? We assume it goes up to 100% because 100% is all, right, is the total. So check out your resource page, your reference page, resource page, whatever you want to call it. Look at this for 5-1. Or sorry, is this one on your resource page? I forget if they gave you this one or not.
We only have 4 parts.
Yeah, you started problem 4. Sorry, so we got to copy this in our notes. So real quick, grab your notes. Just make a quick line. And make it go up to 100%. And you can label it SAT fat, just abbreviate. So you guys should already have a header on here. I wrote that in my physical notes. So we're going to make a line for SAT fat. And we'll go from 0% to 100%. What percent do we have from the cheesy mac? 15. So with your partner, try to decide how you could draw that on this number line. And then my real question here is how many grams is your 100% of saturated fat. How many grams would you need to eat to have 100%? How can we figure that out? What other information do you have? So start chatting with your partner, get this drawn, give it your best shot. I'll give you a few minutes to work on this. Alan, if you want to bump over, because we don't want to leave threes if possible. We'd rather have all pairs, but there is going to need to be 1 3 group. Francesca, are you working here with this 3, or what are we doing? Because we could bump this. You guys can start working. I'm just going to figure out groups. I'm not working. Were you guys paired up? Usually it was. Never officially paired. So never actually thought this is not a solution to what we need to do, right? So we are practicing working together so that you just come forward here, and then we can all just kind of pop across and bump this desk here. So Matt, when we talk together, if you guys can try to either bump that way or bump that way, just have some people check it. What if I draw a line in the dead middle of my graph? Draw a line right here. What percent would that be? 50. Right? Because if I want to try to make this look accurate, try to make your life easier, what if I draw a line in the middle of that? 25%, right? What if I draw a line in the middle of that? 12 and a half, right? Half of 25, 12 and a half. That'd be awkward. So maybe not the middle. What if I split it up into like 10, 10, and 5? Right? If I try to, because now I can visually kind of see that a little better. And then if I know that's 10 and that's 20 and then 25, I can split this again. So try to have an accurate drawing of where your 15% lands. So make your best. Don't just throw a line down there. We're going to say that if I broke it up to get to the point that this was 10, then this will be my 15%. So somewhere down in the bottom quarter of your drawing, right? Then it asks you to put 3 grams on the number line. Talk with your partner if you need. Place 3 grams on the number line. How do I figure out how many grams to make 100%? What does 3 grams relate to? If you go look at your nutrition facts, 3 grams is the what? It is the 15%. Right? 3 grams and 15% are the same thing in this problem. So that 3 grams, we can just put right above our 15%. The percent and the grams can be the same thing because it's, well, what is percent? You can either tell me exactly what percent means or what we use it to represent. Okay? Out of 100. Percent means out of 100. Is 3 grams out of 100? No, we don't know what the total grams is, but the percent is out of 100. Okay, so that 15 is 15 out of 100. And we have that 3 is equal to the 15. Try to not make it so close, but please on your paper somewhere put 3 over we don't know. So either leave it blank for a moment or put a variable there. You with me, Nate? Equal to 15 over 100, because 15%. 15 over 100. Talk with your partner. See if we can remember, how do we solve this proportion? How do we solve that proportion? Alright, I'm going to pick on Alan because I heard him saying how he solved this. Alan, how do we figure this out?
So 3 times 5 equals 15, and then 100 divided by 5 is 20.
If I know that going to the right, I multiply by 5, then going to the left, I can divide by 5, and we would get that this unknown value is actually 20. So we know that our total daily grams of saturated fat that we should have is 20. That would be our total. So what would 50, not 15, 50% or 50, what about 50%? How much would that be? 10 grams, right? Half of the 20. What about 75%? 15, right? So then, because then that's 15 grams, as opposed to, we were talking about 15%. Our labels are really crucial here. Really, really important. So, let's talk about, sorry, I have to move forward there, not down here. So our next problem dealing with fiber. No. We can essentially, do you understand why we set up the ratio that we did? 15%. No, it's out of 100. Questions on this ratio, how we figured this out? Well, this one is a different ratio. So again, remember, a ratio is just a comparison. Ratio, like rate, in a way, it's a comparison of two objects. But we solved that through 3. So let's look at fiber. 1 granola bar contains 4 grams of fiber, and they tell you that's 16% of the daily amount. I believe we have the resource paper for this one. So, on your resource paper, determine what percentage goes down here. So below the number lines are going to be percentages. Above is going to be grams or milligrams or whatever other thing we're talking about. So fill in these 3 blanks. Here, here, and there. Work with your partner if you need. If you'd rather do it in your notes, you can draw it in your notes real fast. It's been a long time since I've been using cards. Check what information is given in the box. So we're looking for fiber. So if you want to look at the fiber portion over here, it tells you that 4 grams is that much percent. Matt, what did you place where? Can you just help me fill anything in here? All right, 16% goes over here under the 4 grams because that was given to us in the problem. You figure out anything else? Anybody else have more information that we can place on here? Grant? This percent is how much is left over to get to 100, right? So we can do the subtraction. 100 minus 16, we get 84% here. So now, here's the problem. They don't want to know how much is the total. They want to know how much more we need to eat. So we could figure out the total and then subtract. Or we could just figure out what 84% is. That's up to us. We need to set up a proportion to solve this. What proportion could I set up? So last time we did the grams that we had over something that we didn't know. What does the 4 relate to? 16%, right? So that'd be 16 out of 100 if I want to solve for the total. So that means this denominator will be total. Not actually the number I'm looking for, but it'll be the total. Do we know how to do this? Times by 4, right? So to go this way, what do? Divide by 4, and we get 25. So if the total for the day is 25, how do I figure out what goes above here? Do the subtraction. We had 25 minus the 4 that we have. How many grams do we still need to eat? 21 more. Please label it 21G for grams. Questions how we did that. Now we could also do this differently, and instead of doing part compared to whole, which we did part to whole, right? We can actually do part compared to part. I heard somebody say do 4 over we don't know compared to 16 over 84, which we could do. You don't need to write this down. You don't need to write this down. This is saying little part compared to the big part, right? Which this will still work, except when we go times 4 here and divide by 4 here, we'll get 21 on bottom instead of the total gives us the part that's left over. This will work, but it's not part to whole. This would be a part to part comparison. We want to work on part to whole. So those are the ratios we want to stick with right now. Part compared to whole, those are better. Try number 5. Well, I think we answered all the parts of number 4. Hold on, we need to answer E. Sorry, I forgot about the extension. If Chris is eating some cookies, right, so I'll pull this down so you can see. Chris is eating cookies that contain 12 grams of dietary fiber. He says that's 48%. 12 grams, he says is 48%. Now, this is hard for a lot of kids to understand. We're all supposed to eat the same thing. That's not actually true. But when we look at dietary, like nutrition fact labels, it's all referencing the same math. So we assume that Chris should eat 25 grams. How can we solve if his percentage is right? And actually, we're going to flip back to our critical equations or critical formulas page. So flip back to page 3 in your journal. I want you to write percent equals, this is really important, part divided by whole times 100. To find a percent. To find a percent. It's part divided by whole times 100. And the only reason that we do the times 100 is to convert it from rate form. So example, if you have 1 out of 2, we would do 1 divided by 2, but then you get 0.5. That's not your percentage. When you multiply by 100, that would turn it into 50, which your percentage is 50%, but the rate, the decimal form, is 0.5. So if we want to check for Chris, how many grams did Chris eat? 12 grams, right? How many grams should he eat in the day? What would his total or his whole be?
25.
25, right? So to check Chris's percent, we do 12 divided by 25. Then we'll multiply by 100, but let's do this first. So what's 12 divided by 25? Use a calculator if you want, or just quadruple both of them. What do you get? 0.48. Then we do the times 100. And what's our answer? 48%. Is Chris right? Yeah, Chris knows how to do both. Good job, Chris. All right, let's try this again. Looking at number 5. We're going with vitamin C, one of the most important things. Vitamin C. Let's get a little bit of vitamin C. Number 5 tells us a large carrot has 6 milligrams of vitamin C. The recommended vitamin C in a day is 60 milligrams. Risa wants to find out what percent of her daily intake vitamin C she gets from 1 carrot. So help her by filling in this chart, graph, whatever you want to call it. Model, I guess would be the most appropriate name. Anyone really confident want to come up and solve what your great answer here? That's, I don't know what that is. Is that a bird? I wish they didn't put those question marks. I wish they just had lines there. So we're going to fill in where the question marks are, and then we're going to fill in where the lines are. I don't know why they did two. Why did she draw up 10 lines here? Why is the line broken into 10 parts? Words? No? No. Fantastic. Yeah, and actually I'm going to back you up a tiny bit. I think a lot of you, to begin with, thought about 6 over 60. Right? You're 1 carrot compared to what you were told for the day. And somebody, I heard immediately said, well, you need to eat
10 carrots.
10 carrots, right? Because if one of them has 6, right, isn't that what it says? Yeah, 6 milligrams. To get to the total, we'd have to eat 10 carrots. So we can do this division. 6 divided by 60, I think it's 0.6. Or sorry, not 0.6, 0.1. 1/10, and if I put another 0, then we multiply by the 100 to convert into percent form, and we get 10%. So we know that these 6 milligrams are 10%. What percentage is left over? 90. There's 90 more percent here. How many milligrams are left over? 54. We're running out of time. Let's look at 6 really quickly. Need to reorient this. 6 is talking about mixing colors. So if you want to make purple paint, you're going to mix red and blue. I need you guys to tell me what percentage of the paint is blue and what percentage of it is red. So figure out real quick what percent is blue, what percent is red, just based off the parts shown. Those are the only paint we use, just red and blue. These could be gallons or cups if you don't know. How many parts in total do I have? Ella, what do you think? How many parts in total do I have? 15, right? 3 and 12, so 15. Oh, I don't know why this isn't working. 15 parts, right? So how do I figure out the percentage that is blue? Zoe, what do you think? Percent part compared to the whole. I mean, what part is blue? 3, what's the whole? 15. So to figure out this percentage, we're going to do 3 out of 15. 3 divided by 15. Ooh, not 15 divided by 3. 3 divided by 15. You're going to get a decimal number. Then we multiply by 100. So if we do 3 over 15, this is actually 1/5, 0.2. Multiply by 100, we get 20% here. If I did 12 divided by 15, I'd get 0.8, which then gets me 80%. You should be fine to try the homework. We will be checking that homework on Thursday. We're going to start to check individual homework. You got 2 business days. Please get it done. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day. First day back. Thanks for hearing more other people.
Okay.